Okay. Okay, I think we're good. For the most part, my levels look generally okay. Maybe a little bit louder. And then I'll also make the music just a little bit loud. Maybe it's too loud already. Okay, that should be a decent mix, I think. If anyone is here for the start of the stream, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I have no idea how long today's stream's going to be. Maybe like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling a bit tired today, so I don't know how long I'll be able to go. But anyway, Hugo at some point posted a comment here in the chat and says, "Why a worm?" I'm not sure what that's referring to. Maybe there's a thing on the thumbnail that I guess could maybe look like a worm, kind of. That's just a little doodle I had lying around, and I decided to throw it in the thumbnail. That's all that is. But apparently I did not do a good job of, getting across what the doodle was supposed to be. Hi, Dreaded Ducky, who says no thank you. I guess maybe Dreaded Ducky's gone. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which part of that Dreaded Ducky is referring to. But either way, I'm going to play some pinball while I'm sitting here and hanging out. Okay, here we go. I don't know if 5 is good. But yeah, how have folks been doing? What's been going on? I know I haven't streamed for a little bit, but I think that's okay. I don't know if anybody was really clamoring for for more streams. But yeah, I got it going. Gonna do a nice relaxing stream. Got some coffee. I'm gonna need that for sure later on. Oh, I did have to turn the sound effects off for pinball because the way that I'm running this the pinball game right now, I just can't. I can't adjust like the actual volume of the sound effects. It's insanely loud, so I just can't have the sound effects turned on for the old pinball games from Maxis. Purple says streaming again. Yeah, apparently. I'm planning to go back to like a weekly stream kind of thing, if people are up for it. But yeah, I don't know. I want to have a presence, and since I'm not active in the comment section of videos 100% of the time, streaming also gives me an opportunity to just like actually hear from people in more or less a completely uncensored way. I don't think YouTube streaming really filters anything out, which is good and bad, maybe. Oh, 3 in a row. Love having center post. But yeah, how's it going, Purple? It's good to see you. Oh, messed that up. Yeah, it's been a while. I think it's been about a month, maybe a little bit more, since I've been streaming once a week on Thursdays. I also considered trying out a different time slot, just because we have people who watch this stuff from all different time zones, and it's just tricky depending on where you live. It's tricky to find a time slot that everybody or that a lot of people can sort of mesh with. You know what I mean? But how's it going, Purple? Thanks for heading over to the stream. I appreciate that. Oh wow, man, I'm. It doesn't save high scores though, so we won't bother putting our name in. Especially since who would see that? It's just my computer, man. Heeg is here. I am not familiar with Heeg Haiki. And says some kind of words. I don't know if that's bot speak or some sort of language that I'm not familiar with, but I don't. Maybe it's some kind of like elaborate insult that I just don't understand. Whoa. Hold on. Pause. Music's way too loud, in my opinion. I have Bianco Hills in here, so let's do the calmer stuff for a moment. Yes. Here, let me check OBS real quick. Yeah. That should be okay. Cool. Well, regardless of what you were trying to communicate, Heeg, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Um, thanks for the chat, I suppose. Welcome, regardless. Everyone is welcome here. There's no barrier to entry. Anybody can stop on by. Okay. Got this going again. Juggling windows. It's kind of funny. I have to like get back in the flow of streaming because it's definitely not the most complicated technological process. But it does take some getting used to, especially when it comes to like some of the more technical aspects, like getting your audio levels just right, and making sure that everything actually shows up on the screen and that the connection is stable with the internet. It can be tricky sometimes, so I'm kind of reminding myself of how I used to do all this. It's nice. That Animal Crossing music is very nice. I know people really like the shop closing theme from New Horizons. That's a pretty good song. It's very lush orchestral kind of stuff. Although I don't know whether it was recorded with like an actual live orchestra or if it was just like samples, in a DAW or composer program of some kind. I'm not very good at making that distinction. But yeah, let's see what's been going on. What's been going on in the world of animation? That's what I talk about the most often, right? Well, gosh, we had the Hilda movie on December 30th. I made a video about that. I quite enjoyed the movie. It didn't blow my mind, but I also think that has something to do with how Hilda has already set a very high standard for just their animation work in general. So getting more Hilda in a movie form wasn't knocking me off my chair or anything like that. It was just like, oh, great. Now we have more Hilda. We have this nice, more or less self-contained story that we can just check out and rewatch whenever we want. But yeah, the Hilda movie was just fine. I watched some Netflix original movies that I really didn't like. I guess that was mostly in December. Wow, I want to go straight down the middle. I also don't know how to tilt. That's tilt. Okay. Anyway, what else happens? The House has not released yet. I think I talked about The House on a previous stream because I had seen the trailer on Netflix, or not on Netflix, but through Netflix Futures on YouTube. And I'm very excited for that one. And that actually comes out, well, tomorrow technically, but it will be available, I think, starting at midnight is when they make stuff available for the air date. So I think I'll check that out. I don't know if I'll stay up late to watch it, like the first moment I can. But I do want to be around for that. I do want to comment on it, make some kind of video. Probably just a quick impressions kind of thing. And I got some conflicting information regarding whether The House on Netflix is going to specifically be just like an anthology movie or an entire series. Because I think they said, man, I'm bad at, I guess I'm distracted. I'm trying to talk. But I think they said, better than last time, I think they said that it's 3 separate stories that make up The House. So I'm guessing like half-hour vignettes each, and so I don't know. I would be more down for that. I don't want to watch like a full series. I don't want to see if every single one of these shorts is like an hour. Oh my gosh, I don't think I want to do that. But if it's 30-minute vignettes, stop motion animation, creepy horror stuff, that sounds like fun. That sounds like a fun time. Also, stop motion takes so long to do. I think they tend to lean more towards short form content, right? Hugo says at midnight, using the formatting of the show. Remember when that was a show? Man, that died because Chris Hardwick canceled, right? There was a whole situation there. I really gotta tilt. Anyway, but yeah, Hugo says, I think it's midnight on the West Coast that like Netflix premieres stuff. Oh, okay, so maybe it's like midnight for the West Coast, but it's at the exact same time elsewhere. So like depending on your time zone, it shifts, something like that. It could be. Oh, was it? Did I do something wrong? Oh no, we're still going. Yeah. So I'm probably not going to stay up and watch it right at midnight, but I am very interested. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I am a pretty big fan of stop motion animation. I think a lot of people are. And based on the trailer, it seems like they got some decent talent, both in front of and behind the camera, so to speak. I mean, I know it's just voice acting, but yeah, they got some big names for the voice cast. And I have never heard of any of the filmmakers involved in the house, like people who actually directed a segment. The trailer claims that they're like, you know, acclaimed award-winning directors or something like that. I'll have to look them up, I guess. Award-winning stop motion that's maybe horror also sounds pretty good to me. So I'm going to see about that. Also, sorry, there's someone outside my window just talking real loudly. And it goes right down the middle. Man, I'm just not fast enough with the tilt. Here, let me mess with our music situation. That's not bad. That's not bad. Put this on a loop. Yeah. Okay. To launch the pinball. Yeah, I've been super into pinball games for a while. Like I don't know, a couple months at this point. I'm just looking for new ones. Picking up some classic pinball games for the old Game Boys and some old PC pinball games too. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. In fact, I've been looking into a way. I have a little handheld emulation machine. Wow, let's just start a new game. That was awful. I bought a little handheld emulation machine similar to an Anbernic. It's the Retroid Pocket thing. And it's pretty nice. It's actually pretty fun for emulating stuff. But on that, I have at least 3 or 4 different pinball games that were originally for different systems. And I think there's a way to do like HDMI mirror out of that device. So I could potentially use that to play pinball games on stream, which is kind of a dream for me. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know how interested other people are in watching pinball in the background. It's just a nice, easy thing to do during the stream, you know. But yeah, wow, what neighbor of mine is just yapping today? Right out like 2 feet away from my window. What's that about? I guess there are no other spots right now where they could talk for 20 minutes at a time. So that's that. Yeah, so the house is something that I'm very excited for in the world of animation. We have been getting new episodes of Molly McGee, I assume, as they're being released. They're sort of slowly being uploaded to Disney Plus. And I've been having a fun time with those. I don't think I'm 100% caught up yet on The Ghost of Molly McGee. But I've really enjoyed all the episodes I've seen. I think when I made my video on the show, I had only seen about 3 or 4. No, I think it was about 6 episodes, or like 6. Each episode contains 2 segments, so you know, technically like 12 segments. But I really love those, and everything I've seen since then has just kind of confirmed that it's just a lot of fun. It's a very innocent show. Well, in certain ways, it's definitely still like sanitized and very clean, and it only supports stuff that most people would be into. It's not getting very controversial, but that's exactly what I expect from a Disney show, basically. I think it's great. I think the animation is still very energetic and impressive. I can't think of, there may be one or two characters on the show, side characters, that I'm not that crazy about. But as for the main cast, which is sort of Molly McGee, Scratch the Ghost, and the McGee family, among them, I think everybody's great. Or Molly's like kid friends. The characters are delightful, which is not something I can say very often about Disney Channel shows, to be honest. Maybe that's just me. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy about how they write characters sometimes. Gravity Falls, Amphibia, I was not that big a fan of those characters, even the lead characters. Owl House too. Wow, am I just getting bad luck with this or what? Maybe I'm just bad at pinball. Anyway, so I've been watching Ghost of Molly McGee, watched the Hilda movie, enjoyed it a lot. What else is going on? I did try to watch, and this was a show I had never seen before. I had maybe heard the title of it a couple times a few years back, but I never actually checked it out. So I watched it for the first time this week, and I didn't end up making a video about it. I don't know if I will. But I I watched some episodes of Star versus the Forces of Evil. I think that's the title. It's a long title. It's all right. It's okay. I mean, I basically just got a handful of episodes into season 1 of that show through Disney Plus. I think there are 4 or 5 seasons, something like that. And I liked it overall. It did remind me a lot of Kim Possible for a few different reasons. Obviously, the main dynamic between our male and female characters, and one of them fights and does crazy actiony stuff, and the other one's kind of more just support, a little bit more timid, but sometimes not. But it was okay. It did start to annoy me a little bit, Star versus the Forces of Evil. Some of the voice acting there was just like, can you please stop? I don't want to listen to you anymore. That might sound kind of mean, but I did get annoyed with that show after a while. I think everybody hated how it ended, too. I've seen some negative stuff with regards to how Star versus the Forces of Evil ended or finished off the last season. Sorry, I can catch up here. Maurice Rodriguez. Hello, Maurice. I'm not sure I've seen you here, but regardless, if you've been here before or not, welcome to the stream. I appreciate you stopping by. Maurice says, man, people are hating on your Smiling Friends video. Oh, yeah. I'll tell a little bit of a story in just a second about that whole video situation. I mostly think it's funny, but I'll get to it in a second. I'll just catch up here on the chat stuff, because Hugo also says, I like Ashley Birch. She's good here. I also like her from OKKO, which I have not watched, actually. I've heard good things. And Michaela Dietz from Steven is also good. Oh, yeah, she is in it. No, I think the voice cast overall for the Ghost of Molly McGee is pretty great. And, shoot, what's his name? The guy who plays Scratch. I just had his name. Dana Snyder, something like that. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, most notably for me. I was kind of worried about him playing Scratch the Ghost in that show at first. I thought it might, be a little too much. He has that very distinctive voice, and so it kind of sounds like he's doing the same performance for different roles, and that bothers me sometimes. But he's been great. I think the character is likable. It's a good balance of like wanting to be a bad guy, but actually has this heart of gold. A bit of a trope, but it works just fine, and the voice performance is great. I really can't say anything bad about it. And Ashley Birch, her singing and all the musical numbers is great, as far as I can tell. It sounds wonderful. I don't even hear that much pitch correction on it, or maybe they just did it really well. But regardless, the singing in that show sounds really good. It's like almost Broadway quality stuff. I don't know who they got to write those numbers, but it's pretty darn good. Anyway, getting back to I'll briefly tell a little bit of a story about the Smiling Friends video. First of all, yes, it's like, I think it's by far my most disliked video ever. ever. Like, I haven't checked the like-dislike ratio for a couple days, and I was thinking of putting it in the thumbnail just so people are like aware of the ratio. It's in the gutter. It's like, I don't know, a couple of percents for the likes compared to 90 something percent of dislikes. It is by far my most disliked video. It's also one of my most viewed videos in just a couple of days. So that was sort of an interesting combination of events, because yeah, most of my stuff sits at even less than 100 views for a long time, or maybe its entire lifetime. It barely gets anything relative to the rest of YouTube. And then every once in a while, something will kind of poke through. Hilda video did okay, Force Majeure, Moral Oral, and then Summer Camp Island and later Alligator, sort of the top of the pile, I think, still. But for the most part, I'm used to not getting many views. It's whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, this one, I think it was within the first hour, it had hit like 1,000, or the first couple of hours, hit like 1,000 views, that Smiling Friends video. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's great. I knew that people were really excited about the show. And I was like, I nailed the timing. People are seeing it. YouTube is showing it to somebody. That's really cool. Sorry, I'll get back to pinball too. And then sorry, I had to get my water. And then I bothered to look at like the like dislike ratio. That's what I saw first. And even at the time, it was really bad. It was maybe like 10% likes to dislikes. And then I don't know why. I think it's on my channel like homepage or whatever. They'll have like, oh, here's some of your most recent comments on some of your videos, and it was all comments about Smiling Friends, and they were all let's just say very negative. Some comments got filtered out, which I appreciate, and other ones did not, but basically everything that got through was very, very negative. And that's basically the first time I even considered, and I was like, wait, what did I actually say in that video? Did I say something crazy? For one thing, I don't even get around to talking about the show itself for like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes in. But even then, I don't really, I mean, it wasn't really my thing. It just seemed so similar to YOLO Crystal Fantasy and plenty of other Adult Swim stuff that I've seen before that, yeah, I wasn't that excited about it. It is very internet friendly. It's very meme friendly, and I think that's substantiated by the way that people have been uploading clips of the show, like 5-6 second clips, 10-second clips that get like 250,000 views in a day. People love seeing these tiny little bits, right? These tiny little jokes, especially when they're referencing other internet stuff. And I totally get that, and I think that's actually a pretty savvy approach to structure in your animated show these days. Is like, if you make it so that it can be shared really readily online as memes or like really tiny video clips, that's an excellent marketing decision, because then people will feel motivated to do that if you already have fans of the show. Man, I'm bad at pinball today. Sorry. And it's working for sure. Anyway, so yeah, extremely negative comments. I had a day where I like tried to respond to a few of them. I think I responded to like 5 or 6. And I was just trying to, have fun, kind replies to people's negative comments. Just because I wanted to have some kind of presence in the comment section. I didn't want to make it look like I had just abandoned the video. So yeah, I did that, but after that, I just couldn't go back to it. It's not that much fun. It's really not that much fun to engage with, like, extreme negativity, especially when, like I said, I don't think I really said anything that negative about the show, other than the fact, like, oh, it's not really for me. I did not have a good time with it, of what I saw. But I can see other people enjoying this, especially if they're already fans of, like, Michael Cusack and this particular brand of comedy. Whatever, it makes sense, and it's a very Adult Swim type show for sure. And I know that people were really hyped for it, and yeah, a lot of people were having fun with the show. That's great. So I didn't think I was too crazy negative about it. And another thing I noticed is that, and I think it's at like, I don't know, 3,000 something views at this point, so relatively high for the channel. But yeah, I checked the stats, and YouTube gives you quite a few stats, right? For in terms of who's viewing the video, how long they're watching it for. That's very important. Click-through rates, all that kind of stuff. They really want you to have all these metrics and know how well or how poorly your video is doing. And yeah, one of those stats is just like view duration, essentially. And they'll even give you a graph of like, here's the parts of the video where you had the most viewers. Here are the parts of the video where you had less viewers. And the average view time of the Smiling Friends video is about a minute and a half. I think it's like maybe a minute and 40 seconds. And the whole thing's like around 10 minutes, something like that. So it's kind of interesting because it's still getting all these negative comments, but a lot of people, apparently the vast majority of people who click on the video, barely get into it before they click away. So I don't know. Maybe I maybe I said something relatively negative like early on, and everybody was like, "Oh no, forget this. I'm not watching this thing," or they saw that it wasn't a glowing review right out of the gate, and they were like, "Oh well, I don't want to watch this now," which is fair. But then it's still strange to me that so many people would feel compelled to take issue with it if they didn't watch the whole thing. And I mean, that's just part of YouTube too. You know, that's the thing that happens. People will comment after getting just a taste of what the video is, and they assume that they know what the rest of it is. It's understandable. It's not my favorite thing, but it happens. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's definitely the most disliked video I've ever made. I think the next most disliked video was my video on Metroid Dread, and sort of defending David Jaffe's comments, which I still haven't seen anyone else do online. I don't know. I doubt I was the only one, but like people hated that one. People got very upset. But overall, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's the healthiest thing to like engage with that kind of negativity in general. So it's not like I was going to be arguing in the comments for days at a time or anything like that, although it probably would boost engagement. But that wasn't for me. I wasn't planning on doing anything like that. Yeah, I just responded to a few comments in just kind of a jokey way. And that was about it. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised at how quickly I forgot about it. At first, it made me feel a little bit like bummed out. Just like, oh, great, there are these other real-life human beings who are, like, very mad at me for something. And that's not the best feeling in the world. Yeah, I forgot about it, like, a day or two later. I just didn't engage with it anymore after that. So it's fine. And I will say, this is something relatively positive I can say about some of the backlash to the Smiling Friends video, is that no one was like light speed angry. No one was doing like the crazy internet, extremely offensive comments or anything like that. No one was going for like personal attacks or anything. So I actually really appreciate that. That might sound weird, but like, even though there was a lot of negativity and some kind of mean stuff, no one was going crazy. So I really appreciate that, because I definitely wouldn't want to deal with that kind of negativity. That's a whole different level for sure. So yeah, that's that anyway. That's my story. And I mean, another plus side, it's a slight one, but it's still there, is that still get all those views. I still get all that watch time. I still get all that engagement, and YouTube likes all that regardless of whether the response is positive or negative to a video. They like attention and engagement and interaction. So like, it kind of helps me out ultimately. Yeah, but I definitely wouldn't want anyone thinking that like I was doing that on purpose, that I was trying to make people mad. I honestly didn't think at all about how fans of the show would respond to it. And yeah, even now, I don't really think the blowback is warranted necessarily. But yeah, Smiling Friends. Yeah, everything else lately has been performing about average, I guess I would say. I think the Hilda movie review is up to like a couple hundred, which is better than average, for a lot of stuff. And that one was kind of timely. I think it was like 2 or 3 days after release. But yeah, right down the middle. Okay. Anyway, how's everybody doing? I don't. Is anybody still here? I haven't checked the numbers. Whatever. I'll just watch the chat. Is everyone doing okay? Does everyone have all the water that they need? It's very important to stay hydrated. And coffee is also good. I highly recommend coffee, just in general. Unless you're like, is coffee allergy? Is that a thing? Is anyone actually allergic to coffee? That would be so sad. I'm also looking more closely at Maurice's image. I think it's Richard Ayoade, right? From IT Crowd, and he's a director also, and he did that Gadget Man show and the Travel Man show. He does a lot of stuff. He does those like trivia shows on Channel 4, and I think he did the Crystal Maze. Is it Crystal Maze? No, Crystal Dome. What is the maze, the British maze show called? It used to be hosted by Richard O'Brien. Anyway, I really like Richard Ayoade, especially Garth Marenghi's Dark Place remains one of my favorite things, at least in terms of comedy stuff. It's fantastic. It's in very few like satirical 80s throwback things actually managed to be all that funny, but I definitely think that's one that does it very well. And what was the other thing I was going to mention of his? Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Even if you've seen all of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which there's not that many, like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, I highly recommend looking up the commentary for like the DVD release or something, because Richard Ayoade, guy, and other guy, main cast members, do their commentary for the DVD in character, and I love it. Like they're just very funny people, and they're really good at improvisation. So I think the commentary track is hilarious. They do every single episode, and they just kind of riff. They just kind of go off on these weird little tangents and bits and stuff. It's pretty great. But yeah, I also really like Richard Ayoade as a director, as a filmmaker. He's only ever made 2 movies, 2 big releases to my knowledge. He did Submarine, and he did The Double, based on the Dostoevsky novel. And I thought both were pretty cool, definitely in different styles. The Double in particular seems to take a lot of notes from Terry Gilliam stuff, specifically like Brazil. But I don't know, it still kind of stood out as its own thing. But yeah, that was years and years ago, and I haven't heard of him making anything since then, which is kind of sad. I like to see talented people make stuff. You could say I'm really an individual in that way. I like seeing good people make stuff. You can quote me on that one. Oh my goodness. Having a little bit of a better round with the pinball this time. Doing okay. Well, I say that. I don't know if anybody else does this with pinball, but I have a bad habit of doing both flippers at once. Like, even if I just need to hit it on one side, I'll just do both. I don't know. Maybe it's something I did as a kid, and I just can't shake the habit. I don't know. Hugo says, I'm back. What did I miss? Well, welcome back, Hugo. I'm not sure how long you were away. I told my story about the Smiling Friends video and like the very negative reaction to it. So I don't know if you caught that or not. I talked about that for a long time. But basically it's just kind of funny how it all worked out. And after that, I just talked about, I don't even remember. Richard Ayoade. I like him. I talk a lot about his work. That's about it. You know, we're just hanging out. We're just having a nice time. I got my coffee going. Having all sorts of stuff. But yeah, what have other people been watching? Please, if you have any recommendations for specifically animated movies or shows, go ahead and throw them right at me. It's time. You know, I definitely need some new recommendations. need some new stuff to cover. I'm also just like, I don't know, I make an effort to look up new animated movies and shows that are coming out, but I rarely catch absolutely everything. So I do appreciate it when people throw some recommendations at me, or just like, you know, a heads up that something's going to be coming out soon. It's very helpful to me. Man, wow, am I bad at this today. Oh, nice. Didn't even have to do anything there. Oh, not enough. Here, I should switch up the music again, too. I've been doing these loops, but from Animal Crossing, but sometimes they go on a little bit long. You know what I mean? What's this one like? What's this one? This one's all right. I remember this one from childhood. See, that was the both. I don't need to do both flippers at the same time. Anyway, part of my thing for pinball too is maybe I mentioned this before on stream. I lose track of the stories that I tell on the things that I mentioned. But my grandparents, half of my grandparents, I suppose, had a pinball table in their basement, and I think it must have been from like the late 50s. I'm gonna say there's a chance that it was from the 60s, but the style of it and like the designs and the illustrations, it definitely felt a lot more like something from the 50s. But yeah, it was a football themed, like an American football themed pinball table, and I loved it. And every time we visited them, I would try to, you know, like go out of my way, like, hey, is pinball table working? Because that's the thing with pinball tables. I mean, aside from being extremely expensive and hard to move and taking up a lot of space, they are very fragile just because they're so technologically and mechanically complicated. So you can have a pinball machine, then all of a sudden something goes wrong, something wears out. I know on this pinball table, a big thing that wore out was like the rubber bands. They would have rubber bands for like, see these two little triangular things that the ball just bounced off of? On this machine that my grandparents had, those were just literal rubber bands. And then it had like a little pusher thing behind it. But those would wear down all the time. So you always had to replace those, but it had to be a special kind of rubber band for pinball machines. So like there are so many things that could go wrong with it. The electronics could go, the you know, light bulbs and stuff inside the machine could just die. So it was kind of funny how often that thing just like fell apart. I think it's gone now. I did not get an offer to keep it, and I don't have the room for it anyway, so it's all right. Oh, there we go. That was a decent save. Now don't mess it up. Okay. Oh, yes. But yeah, what's going on? What have people been watching? I guess what have people been playing lately? If you're into the games and stuff, that's definitely one of my hobbies. So I like to hear what people have been playing. And what else? What was I gonna mention? Oh yeah, well in the description for this stream, and I think in the community post as well, I mentioned that I might be playing Disco Elysium. I don't know whether I will today. I would definitely be open to playing that on a stream at some point, especially if it's something that people would like to watch. That's always a bonus. But yeah, we're gonna see. It is a little bit, let's say, difficult to handle sometimes in terms of like gore or just some potentially stomach turning elements. So like I'm not necessarily in the mood for that kind of thing tonight, and I also don't want to force people into watching that if they're not in the mood for it. So I don't know if I'll play that today. I'm leaning towards not. I just feel a little tired, and yeah, you really have to be in a specific mood to play Disco Elysium, I think. So yeah, there's that. Hugo asks, did you ever get the Quest? That was one of the game recommendations, right? If I'm remembering correctly. In fact, let me check here. Pause. Pinball. I feel like, is that something I wish listed? Let me see here. Quest. No. Why is it all caps? Oh yeah, now I remember why. Oh yeah, the Quest. No, I didn't get it apparently because it's not in my library. But let's see. It looks like a CRPG from the 90s. Hugo says, is it like Wasteland 1, 2, and 3? Disco Elysium? I don't know. I don't think I know the. Oh, sorry. You meant the Quest VR headset. Quest is also a game. I'm looking at it on Steam right now. It has very positive reviews. No, I didn't get the Quest. I guess I did mention it at some point. I was considering getting a Quest 2. But here's the thing. This isn't a very interesting story, so I'll kind of rush through it. But basically, I was planning on getting a Quest if I was going to move, because if I was going to move, I would have much better internet, and you really need, at the very least, like a decent and stable internet connection to run that thing, because everything is streamed to the Quest. You can't just, it doesn't run stuff internally. It streams from either just the internet connection, or you can stream stuff from a PC. Either way, I didn't end up moving. that got canceled. So I've just been around. I've just been in the same spot, and so my internet is still very bad. And it's so bad that I checked the specs of the Quest, or the Quest 2 rather, and basically they just said no. Like, you don't have the connection to run this. It would be extremely choppy and like uncomfortable. So I was just like, well, I guess not. I didn't really want to spend like, $350 to get a headset that I couldn't really even use. So yeah, unfortunately not. And Hugo, I forget whether or not you already have a VR headset. I know we were talking about VR at one point, and someone in the chat was saying they had been playing Beat Saber, which I've heard very good things about, and that's definitely something that I would want to try if I got into VR. But like I said, not yet. So Hugo says the Quest 2, you have to download stuff into the headset. Okay, so some kind of internal storage. Yeah, I don't think it would be a good choice for me right now. And I don't know, it's not really in the budget either at all. Because I bought the cheaper Xbox in like November. So I feel like that was my video gaming budget for quite a while, unfortunately. So yeah, no plans to go for the Quest yet. But I have heard very good things. I know a couple of people who ended up with the Quest 2, and they've really been enjoying it. They're not like trapped in the virtual universe and playing it all the time, but they are satisfied with it. They think it's a really good entry point for VR stuff. So that's cool. That's good for them. I would like to. Wow, what a terrible! I would like to try it for just for fun, like just try someone else's headset. Give it a roll. I think that would be a good time. But who knows? And also, I don't know. Like, I wear glasses and stuff, and my nearsighted vision is starting to go, so I don't know. It might be tricky just to use the thing at all, or any headset really. So we'll see. But I am interested in trying VR. I do think it would be a neat little experience. And they're developing more stuff for it now. So like, there's more of a reason to actually get a VR headset as compared to like even 7 or 8 years ago. It was really barely a thing. I know it's still like a relatively small market compared to the rest of the gaming space. But back then it was like nothing. There were like maybe 5 games actually worth playing on VR, and that's about it. But now we have a decent number of titles. We have stuff that really only works in VR. So that's cool. That's great. There's actually a reason to get one now, especially because of the Quest series of headsets. Hugo says, yes, I have a Quest 2, and my fave game is Beat Saber. I think Beat Saber says Spear, but I think it's Beat Saber. That's great. Yeah, no, it looks like a lot of fun, Beat Saber. I don't know whether they have, and maybe I apologize if I asked this question on a previous stream, but I don't know whether Beat Saber offers like custom beat mapping for basically any song, or if they only sell specific songs that work with the game. I don't know if people mod it to include other songs or what, but as far as I'm concerned, it needs to have that capability. Like, you need to be able to add like whatever song you want. I think that would be so fun to play, you know, basically any song you can think of, in VR with like VR swords. That's just such a great pitch. Yeah, like, can you imagine like some classical music? Maybe they have some already, but like some classical music in Beat Saber, some Vivaldi, something really quick, or like I don't know, yeah, like dance music, some dubstep stuff. They probably already have some of that in the game. But that seems like a lot of fun to me. I think that'd be great. I've always kind of been a fan of rhythm games, but I've rarely owned a lot of the big rhythm games. So like if we go way back in time to like the first Guitar Hero game, and then the Rock Band games after that, or before that, well before that, you had the DDR mats that you could get for like what, the PS2. They probably had some for GameCube. I never had those, but I always really liked playing that stuff. Other, you know, maybe at friends' houses or something, they would have the Guitar Hero stuff. They would have the DDR mat, and I thought it was so much fun. I thought it was like much more interactive than a lot of other games that I was playing at the time. And for some reason, I never wound up getting it. I do think these days there's some kind of like open source Rock Band style game where you can use the old Guitar Hero and Rock Band controllers on your PC to play the game, and they're just a bunch of, you know, songs in there and different challenge levels and stuff. That sounds fun as heck. I just have never pulled the trigger on buying one of those guitars. They're kind of big, and like, what do you do with it most of the time? Where do you put it? So yeah, I'm a big fan of rhythm games. I've never really dove that deep into them. And then there's some other stuff you can just play on like a controller, like Unbeatable. I've talked about a lot. The demo for Unbeatable was fantastic. You can just play that with a controller. There's some weird indie one that Yakko talked about. Yakko CMN on YouTube was talking about some weird indie rhythm game that looked like a lot of fun. There's some rhythm games in Mario Party that are like, so yeah, I'm a fan. I've just never, I've never been too deep in that world. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Oh, good. Now everybody got to see the credits for the pinball game. Now we know the good names of the people who worked on this. Hugo says there's a plastic adapter you can add, and there was a shooting game that I tried, and I had to use my glasses, I think. It works. It's not what I like. Interesting. Okay, so some VR shooting game, I think, was the situation there. Yeah, that definitely brings to mind, like, the old arcade consoles of, like, House of the Dead and, I don't know, the hunting ones and stuff that use, like, light guns, I think. I feel like playing a VR shooter would just be, like, the ultimate level of that. You know what I mean? Like, oh boy, we're really in it now. Or like, what do you call it? Half-Life Alyx. Like, I would probably spring, if I knew it was going to work well, I would probably spring for a VR headset just to play Half-Life Alyx. I think that would be so much fun. I've seen videos of it that make it seem really appealing and interactive and responsive. I think it would be a great time. Although I'm not big into shooters in general. I'm not a big FPS player. It's not like my first choice all the time. So who knows? Maybe the VR shooter experience would just be like intimidating and awful and stressful. Well, I guess that's part of the fun, is like feeling like you actually have to defend yourself, and you know that you're actually within the virtual space. So yeah, it would be neat, but yeah, I don't see myself being able to get a headset of my own for a good while now. Or like I think No Man's Sky has a VR version that's just like included with the main game or something. That'll be kind of neat. I'm not a big fan of No Man's Sky, but just the environments and everything. Like, I don't know. That's the big thing for me. I even think that some relatively boring games in VR would be a lot of fun. Like even like just a driving game, like a game where you're just driving around in a car someplace. I think that would be a blast in VR. I think that would be a lot of fun, especially if you have like a steering wheel controller or something. I've considered getting. Well, I shouldn't say. I have considered the possibility of Forza Horizon 5 doing a VR thing, sort of an add-on or DLC thing. I think that would be great. It's already so fleshed out, and you have this nice big environment to drive around in. I think just having that in VR, it's automatically improved, even though it probably would be more difficult to drive in those spaces and with just the VR viewpoint, like a first-person viewpoint. Anyway, but yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And Hugo's saying that Resident Evil 4 is on the Quest 2. Yes, yeah, that was a big. That was actually probably one of the more, I guess I'll say like notable VR releases this past year. In 2021 was Resident Evil 4, and I have played some of the original. I played some on GameCube. I've heard that people really like the Wii version, actually. But yeah, if I had a set, I would probably, if I had a headset, I would gladly get Resident Evil 4. It's just great. The dialogue, the characters, the weird world building going on. It's just wonderful. So I don't know if you've gotten it, Hugo. Have you gotten Resident Evil 4 for the Quest? I think that would kind of be a blast. Literally, haha, gun puns. At least I make myself laugh. That's something. Then we have Samuel Kim. Says Porb. I don't know what that means. Given how things have been going lately, I assume it's some kind of weird insult that I'm not familiar with. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's something nice to say to a person. Either way, welcome to the stream, Samuel Kim. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. You can watch me be pretty bad at pinball for a while longer. I had my coffee, so I'll stream for a little bit longer, and then I'll stop. So it's a pretty exciting night for me. There was a 0 point of pinball ball. Really doing good tonight. And this is the easiest of all the pinball tables from this Maxis pinball game, actually. I think it was, the full release was called Full Tilt Pinball, I think. Maybe it's even shown on the screen right now. But yeah, the other tables are really tough, and they're kind of barren. So like most of the time you're fighting for your life. It doesn't have too much stuff to bounce off of at the top of the table. But yep, okay. Wow, I'm so bad. Maybe I should just stop. I do think that was my high score of the evening, though. Look at that. Look at those bad scores, and then my slightly better scores. Have I been improving every time? Probably not. Gotta get my water, sorry. Well, I guess I can say a couple things about the channel here while I'm sitting in a lull. I have a couple other videos on the way out. If anyone's interested in checking those out, keep an eye out, I suppose. And what else? Yeah, I do have a channel update video coming out. I don't know whether people will care about that or not, but I think it's actually pretty good. I'm kind of excited to share it. So that should be another few days. I want to do some nicer edits on that one and also add some subtitles before it gets published. So yeah, in a few days from now, hopefully the channel update video will be up. So you can take a look at that if you want. And like I said, I'm always looking for other recommendations. I will be watching The House on Netflix as soon as I can and try to share some thoughts as quickly as possible in the hopes of getting some kind of views on it. Yeah, so it's been a lot of that. A couple other things, longer projects that are still in the works. Yeah, always a lot going on. More chat. Hugo says, I have not. I think in response to whether he has Resident Evil 4 on the Quest 2. I have not. I tried to play the Walking Dead VR game. And did not like the movement in the game or the fighting. But I think I can try Resident Evil 4. Might be fun. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like movement in so many VR games is a pretty big thing. It's kind of a challenge for the developers. Especially something more traditional, like we're saying Resident Evil 4 or even Half-Life Alyx. Like, it's ultimately something that could or has existed in a standard video game format as a first-person shooter or third-person shooter. But how do you handle walking around? There's, we're not really dealing with analog sticks most of the time in VR, so you have those shortcuts. I think Half-Life Alyx has a weird way to teleport around the different locations. But obviously, movement is so important to dodging enemies, especially in Resident Evil, and getting a good vantage point where you can shoot from and all that kind of stuff. So that's tough. And I do think that would be one of the annoyances, is like getting used to a whole new way of moving in a video game that you're just, you've had years of just using a control stick or something. Anyway, but yeah, no, Resident Evil 4, it's always fun. So I feel like any of those releases, regardless of what platform you're playing on, it's going to be a certain amount of fun. And I did hear generally good things about the Quest release or the VR release of Resident Evil 4. So there you go. Maybe it's just a great time. That's a pretty good start. Look at that. Oh. Never mind. Yeah. Oh, I like getting the tunnel thing. It's an easy way to get some points for sure. Oh, careful. Okay. Nice. All right. Oh, cool. Hugo says, I also hated the UI so much where you have to pull your backpack. Oh, in Resident Evil 4 or a different VR game. That sounds, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm trying to think of like motion controlled stuff in the Resident Evil series. I know for the Switch editions of Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, I think for both of them, you have the option to reload whatever gun you're using by like tapping whatever Joy-Con you're using in your hand, right? Like just against your hand or something, or which is interesting. I don't know. Some of that like gimmicky motion control stuff can be kind of neat, or slightly immersive or something. But yeah, like to access the backpack, you have to like reach for a backpack. I think that's what I'm getting from Hugo's comment. It seems strange, yeah, when they're just like thinking up weird ideas, because like, oh well, it's VR. We got to do some weird stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. There we go. All right. Nice. This is a decent round, I guess. Whoa, hey, wormhole. Wormhole. Nope. No, it's not a good round anymore. Yeah, what was the last shooter I played at all? I tried playing one of the Mass Effect games. I tried playing Mass Effect 1 through Game Pass, and it was fine. I think I got like 3 or 4 hours into it. And I was just like, okay, this is fine. Although I think with Mass Effect, someone can feel free to correct me, but I think with Mass Effect, a lot of the appeal is just the story elements and the character dynamics as opposed to the gameplay itself. So maybe that's the part I wasn't appreciating so much. Maybe I should have been paying more attention to the story, but I really wasn't getting much out. It just kind of felt like generic sci-fi story and like space politics in the first Mass Effect game. Maybe it gets better, but I was not a huge fan, so I didn't finish that one. Who knows? Could go back to it soon. Hugo says, in The Walking Dead, the user interface from The Walking Dead he was referring to, the backpack is your inventory, so you have to reach on your back with your left hand, and you can only do it with your left hand. What? Also, just personally, I mean, I'm right-handed. Just the idea of having to use my left hand, maybe it seems kind of silly. I don't like that. I feel like my natural reflex, like if I was trying to catch my backpack from falling off or something, it would almost definitely be my right hand. You know what I mean? And that you can't change it? Like, what is that? Just have an option, right? I don't know. Maybe it's difficult to program both. Yeah, that seems really silly. Although, I mean, it does make sense that they made a Walking Dead VR game. Like, you know, of course. Of course you would. Oh yeah, something else that I can say that's actually relevant to future streams is that at the moment I'm waiting on an adapter that should let me have an HDMI out from my iPad, which is what I use for my drawing and animation stuff. So the hope is that the adapter thing actually works, and that I can use it with a capture card to just mirror the iPad screen in the stream. And if that works out, like if I can actually get that to work the way it's intended, which is slightly doubtful, I will be animating on stream a lot more. For one thing, I think it would be good to kind of force me to try out some animation on a consistent basis. I think that would just be a good thing in general. And I don't know, I think it's kind of fun. I enjoy the animation streams. I'm not that good at it, but it's fun to do, and people seem to enjoy it to a certain extent. So if everything works with that adapter, I will try to do more animation streams, if not just like do one every week. So we'll see how that goes, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to try out. Samuel Kim asks, your favorite animated movie? Wow, that's a very good question. And it's also a difficult question to answer. At least for me. I don't think about that too often. I mean, I definitely have a whole lot of appreciation for more than half of the Pixar movies. I think like a lot of people, especially people my age, growing up on Pixar in the very early days, there's some strong nostalgia there, and there's also just some real quality to the work. I know for a fact that my favorite Pixar movie is Ratatouille. Like without a doubt, that's the winner. It's just the best. Wow, just thinking about it now, it's been a while since I watched it too, so I'm like, oh, I'm all of a sudden in a Ratatouille kind of mood. So there's that, and outside of that, one that comes to mind very quickly, and who knows, it might be one of my favorite animated movies of all time, is Ernest et Celestine. It was a French animated movie. I mean, it's very easy to translate to English. It's just Ernest and Celestine. I think it's streaming on Amazon Prime. It might be paid. It's unfortunate how it's like a premium streaming option. But I love Ernest et Celestine so much. I just think that it's such a pleasant world to be in. The watercolor backgrounds and the very fluid approach to animating those environments and the characters especially. It's just fantastic. Some very particular artistic choices in terms of how the characters move. The music in that movie is unbelievable. And I made a video about this movie a long time ago, but I don't know whether I mentioned in that video that one of my favorite bits of music in Ernest de Celestine is it's not even on the soundtrack. I've checked on Spotify and stuff. But Celestine goes down in Ernest's basement when she first arrives at his house, and she's kind of moping and just going through all his old knickknacks and family heirlooms and stuff. And there's this beautiful, just like tiny piece of music, like a minute long, and it's just solo cello, I think. And it's fantastic. It's just such a lovely mood. I love that Celestine is like a painter, so she's trying to paint whatever she can find, and Ernest kind of encourages her in that. It's great. That's definitely one of my favorites I've ever seen. But obviously there are a million, there's some really good stuff. A Town Called Panic is another all-time favorite. Fantastic Planet, also, that's a good one. I actually do like the first Fritz the Cat movie quite a bit. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. But that's definitely a good one too. But how about you guys? Do you guys know if you have like a all-time favorite animated movie? Is there something that really stands out as like, oh, that's the one, that's the best one I can think of? It's tough. I think it's tough to answer. Sorry, I think Hugo also had something in here that I haven't seen yet. Just in the pinball zone, really getting there now. Hugo says Tokyo Godfathers is a very good movie. Don't know if it's my favorite though. Yeah, Tokyo Godfathers is great. I forget that director's name. That's the same director as Paprika, which I rewatched recently and had a lot of fun with. Paprika's fantastic. It's kind of the everybody calls it sort of the pre-Inception movie. Sort of a very similar premise. But Tokyo Godfathers is great. And that's another thing we can account for, right? It's just like all the Miyazaki stuff, basically, even going back to his work on the Lupin the Third series. Come on, like in particular, Ponyo is one of my favorites. Ponyo and Kiki's Delivery Service are just unbelievably good to me, and they're so comfortable to watch that I can basically have them on at any time and just really enjoy myself. Yeah. And Hugo says the R-rated movie about the cat, it was actually X-rated. The first Fritz the Cat movie. I don't know about the second one. I don't know if I even watched the sequel. But the first Fritz the Cat movie was rated X. That was when they still used X instead of NC-17 here in the U.S. It's like the most severe movie rating, like just for adults only. And as far as I know, Fritz the Cat was the first movie to ever get was the first animated movie to ever get an X rating, which was like kind of crazy. But it also makes sense when you consider the fact that it's based on a Robert Crumb character in comic strip. He was not, he's still alive, but like in his early days, he was not pulling punches in terms of like really heavy sexual content and like really, tons of violence and like difficult subject matter, let's say. So it's not too surprising that the Ralph Bakshi's adaptation of that was rated X. Although I think Crumb actually hated the adaptation, the movie version of Fritz the Cat. I think he was just like, no, that's not what my intention was. That's not my character. Just kind of, but I do like it, and I think it's pretty easy to find too. Like I don't think they're too precious about the rights. And Hugo's reminding me that it's Satoshi Kon. I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but Satoshi Kon is the director of both Tokyo Godfathers and Paprika. Yeah, Paprika's fantastic. What a fun time. It's just kind of a blast, and the pacing's great. It never really gets boring. You're curious about what's going to happen next, especially your first time through, obviously. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. And yeah, I have my favorite Pixar. I have my favorite Studio Ghibli movies. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli? Have we arrived at like a final consensus on that pronunciation? I feel like it's constantly going back and forth, and I've lost track of which one is correct, quote unquote. But yeah, Satoshi Kon, yeah, great. And I think he died relatively young, unfortunately. And in fact, there's a scene at the very end of Paprika where the character of Paprika recommends what was going to be a real world movie, Satoshi Kon's next project, I think. I forget what, the Summer Children, something like that. And the character says like, oh yeah, this is a really good movie, you should check it out. So it's kind of a bit of like shameless self-plugging. But yeah, they never finished it. I don't know if they're like rough cuts of that or something. Anyway, there's that. I know people really love Iron Giant. It's never been one of my favorites, actually. I know Brad Bird is fantastic, and obviously, like I said, I love Ratatouille. I love some of the Simpsons stuff that he worked on. The Incredibles is wonderful. The first one, anyway. But yeah, Iron Giant I could never really get into. And there's an unmade movie of his. I think it's called The Spirit. There were only ever, I think all they animated were like some pencil tests for The Spirit. But it never got made. And but what we have of it is pretty neat. I think it was meant to be like a detective noir kind of story. But yeah, never got made. Another one that was never really officially finished that I love a whole lot is, what do you call it? It's Thief and the Cobbler. And then there's some other alternate name for the version that was released and wasn't approved by the filmmaker. And I'm sorry that I forget that animator's name, Richard Williams, something like that. He worked on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But yeah, Thief and the Cobbler is so good. It's so good. Visually, like, oh my gosh, achieving like unbelievable on a technical level. And I think you can just watch it on YouTube, honestly. Anyway, there's a big story behind that one. I think there's like documentaries and stuff. Samuel Kim says, "Do you like the Walking Dead show?" I don't. Well, you might. I guess you might have been asking Hugo as well. So Hugo, go ahead and answer as well, I guess. I've never watched too much of The Walking Dead. I did watch like the early part of season 1 of Walking Dead, which was like a millennium ago, I think. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was early on. It was some really good zombie stuff. I think the first episode is like a 90-minute thing or something. So it's basically a really good zombie movie that just served as the first episode of the whole show. I really loved that, but I did not keep up with it at all. I was surprised to hear that the show was still running like a year or two ago. I think they've officially finished up now, right? I know they were heading into their final season. But anyway, I did not catch up, so I can't comment on the later seasons at all. But yeah, the early stuff, it's just solid zombie horror, action horror kind of stuff. Good performances, visually very impressive, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on Walking Dead. I don't have too many, but that's what I got. And possibly a different person, maybe from Russia. I think those might be Russian characters. I don't know if this is bot speak. Is this a Russian bot that we're talking to? Or are they just attempting to say something that's maybe in Russian? I don't know. It doesn't look like Russian. Is it some kind of spam? Well, I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't pronounce. I don't know Russian characters. I apologize. So I don't know how to say your name, but regardless, even if you're a bot, thanks for stopping by, bot. It kind of makes me feel better that my stream is like worth having bots around. And if you're a real person trying to communicate with us, I'm sorry, I don't understand the message. Anyway, Hugo says Dreaming Machine would have been his next movie. Ah, okay, so that's what it was called. Which he could not finish, died of cancer at the age of 46. Yeah, 46, that's pretty young. It's very sad. But yeah, the work that we did get, while he's still alive is very impressive. So I'm very happy that he gave us those movies. Yeah. Where did I watch Paprika anyway? It might be like an HBO Max thing at this point. They have a lot of the Ghibli stuff too. Yeah. Maybe I'll finish up this game of pinball and start to head out. Oof. No. Hugo says when it dropped on Netflix, saw seasons 1 through 5. Did not like the first 2 seasons. Season 3 did pick up, but I stopped watching after season 5. Okay. Interesting. Oh, look, it was my best score of the night, too. So there you go. That's everybody's Walking Dead experience. Water. But yeah, no, I didn't keep up. Yeah, so it just ran for so long, too, I feel like. But yeah, honestly, folks, I think I'm probably going to start wrapping up. So I'll hang around for a few more minutes. If anybody has any other, comments or other stuff that they'd like to share, go right ahead. I'll just be here, and then I'll hop off after that. Samuel Kim says my favorite animation film is Sausage Party. Well, there you go. That's fair enough. I saw Sausage Party at some point. I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought it was okay. I don't know, like, given its sense of humor, like it does a decent job, I guess. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. There was some controversy around the release too, not because of like the writing or the jokes or anything, but because apparently the animators, like the actual animation studio doing the work, and I think they're located in Canada. I forget the studio's name, but apparently a bunch of people weren't paid like overtime pay, and they kind of rushed animation for that movie. So I'm not happy about that. I'm not on board with that at all. And I don't know who should really get the blame for that. I don't know if it was a scheduling thing. I don't know if like Seth Rogen and the other leads were pressured to release it at a certain time of year. I have no idea, but like, I'm not into that, like just if you're going to ask people to do overtime, pay them for overtime, that kind of thing. But it's decently funny just as a movie on its own. Yeah, although I can't remember too many specific jokes from it. Who's in the cast? Is Nick Kroll in it? I feel like Nick Kroll's in it. I think Michael Cera is in it. Seth Rogen, obviously. I don't remember too many other ones. Anyway. Yeah. Hugo says, I saw the movie, the whole movie on YouTube. The person, and they post the movie Paprika, they posted with the audio not synced. So you have to have 2 videos up at the same time to see it. Oh, so someone had Paprika, but they shifted the audio or something. Maybe it's a way of avoiding like copyright stuff. But that's annoying. Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch it that way if it was such a hassle. But yeah, I think that one's either on like Netflix or HBO Max right now, as far as I remember. Or it was a couple months ago when I rewatched it. Yeah, and I think most of the Ghibli stuff, if not all, is on HBO Max too. So I'm very glad that I have a login for that one. But yeah. Still getting a decent variety of stuff. I really should rewatch some stuff, I'm kind of in the mood to go back into some of my favorite movies. It can be a nice sort of comfort media thing. But anyway, yeah, I think we're just about done. With today's stream. So as usual, all the folks who came out live for the stream, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate that. And for anyone watching the upload of the stream later on, thank you too. That's just as helpful, basically. And I think you can comment on uploaded streams. I know they have the chat replay, but I think you can comment. So feel free, to say something. As usual, I guess I'm open to the idea of streaming at different time slots if it's a better fit for more people. This just happens to be one of the days and the time slots that works for me, So, yeah. And in terms of channel stuff, I'll just reiterate a couple things. A few longer form videos are on the way. They'll probably take a while longer. And then in addition to that, I'll try to review the house or do like an impressions video on the house as soon as I can, maybe tomorrow. And then hopefully in a couple days' time, I will have uploaded and finished a channel update video to share with everybody. It'll give them some more information and background and just insights on, you know, what I'm planning to do with the channel in the near future. So yeah, all good stuff, and it's been fun. I'm glad that given the Smiling Friends backlash, I'm glad that nobody, like, you know, descended on the chat with a bunch of negative things to say. I appreciate that. That was like a vague anxiety I had. But no, it's been good. It's been good. It's been a nice way to return to streaming. I'm planning to go back to a weekly streaming schedule. Like I said, I'd like to do some more animation streams in particular. It's just technical limitations, basically. But yeah, that's about it. But yeah, thanks to the folks here live, and Hugo, thanks for coming by, and Samuel Kim, Purple was here for a second, and everyone else who popped in. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. It's always fun. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. Let me just pull up the page and end the stream officially. But yeah, everybody have a great day. And yeah, take it easy. Have a nice, relaxing weekend for me. I'm making a special request. That's all. Thanks for stopping by.